Lisa Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the screens around her. She had been working for 12 hours straight at Beacon 7, the space station that watched the edge of human space. Most nights were quiet. Most nights, nothing happened. At all, tonight was different. A soft beep came from her equipment. Lisa frowned and checked the readings. Something was sending a signal from very far away. The signal was so weak that her computers could barely pick it up. She almost missed it. Completely. "Computer, run a full scan on Sector 77 Alpha," she said. The machine hummed and worked. Numbers flashed across her screen. The signal was coming from a star system over 400 light-years away. That was farther than any human had ever traveled. It was farther than any human ship could go. Lisa played the signal through her speakers. It sounded like static mixed with strange beeping sounds. But there was something else, something that made her skin crawl. The beeps had a pattern. They repeated in a way that seemed almost like someone was trying to talk. She saved the recording and walked to her supervisor's office. Commander Jake Thompson was drinking coffee and reading reports when she knocked on his door. "What is it?" "Martinez?" he asked without looking up. "I picked up something strange, sir. A signal from deep space. I think someone is trying to send a message." Jake finally looked at her. "From where?" 400 light-years out. Maybe more. "The signal is very weak." Jake shook his head. "That's impossible. Nobody lives that far out. It's probably just noise from a dying star or something." Lisa had expected this response. "Sir, I ran the signal through our pattern recognition software. The computer says there's a 93% chance this is artificial. Someone made this signal." That got Jake's attention. He stood up and followed Lisa back to her station. She played the recording for him. Jake listened carefully, his face growing more serious with each passing second. "How old is this signal?" he asked. "Based on the distance, it would have taken over 400 years to reach us. Whatever sent this happened before humans even left Earth." Jake was quiet for a long time. Then he picked up his communication device and called the main office. "This is Thompson at Beacon 7. I need to speak to Admiral Carter. Tell him it's urgent." While they waited, Lisa worked on cleaning up the signal. She used every filter and enhancement program she had. Slowly, the static began to clear. The beeping sounds became clearer. And then, something amazing happened. Words began to form. They were not in any human language, but the computer recognized them as language, real words from real people. As Lisa worked, more and more of the message became clear. "Help us," the voice said in the computer's translation. "They are coming. The devourers consume everything. Our worlds are dying. If anyone receives this message, beware. They leave nothing behind." Lisa felt cold. She looked at Jake, and his face was pale. "Keep working on it," he said quietly. Lisa did. Over the next hour, she pulled more information from the signal. There were star charts showing the location of the senders. There were pictures of creatures that looked like a mix of insects and machines. There were warnings about weapons that could destroy planets. Admiral Ryan Carter's face appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in charge of human space exploration for 20 years. "Thompson, what's this about?" he asked. Jake explained everything. He showed the Admiral the signal, the translation, and the pictures. Admiral Carter listened without saying a word. When Jake finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long time. "How sure are we that this is real?" he finally asked. Lisa answered. "Sir, I've been doing this job for 8 years. I've never seen anything like this. The signal contains information that we couldn't have made up. Star charts of areas we've never explored. Technical data about weapons we don't understand. Either someone is playing a very complicated trick, or this is real. Admiral Carter nodded slowly. If this is real, then we have a problem. If there are creatures out there that can destroy entire worlds, we need to know about them. What do you want us to do, sir? Jake asked. Keep working on that signal. I want to know everything it contains. And I'm going to talk to the Colonial Authority about sending a ship to investigate. Lisa felt her heart race. Sir, are you thinking of sending someone to that system? Maybe. If there are survivors, they might need help. And if these devourers are real, we need to learn how to fight them. The Admiral's image disappeared. Lisa and Jake looked at each other. You know what this means? Jake said. Lisa nodded. We're not alone, and we might be in danger. Over the next few days, Lisa worked day and night on the signal. She found more pieces of the message. The senders called themselves the Kethmori. They had been fighting the Devourers for over 1,000 years. They had lost world after world. Their message was their last hope. The Colonial Authority met and argued for hours. Some people wanted to ignore the signal. They said it was too dangerous to investigate. Others wanted to send a small scout ship. A few wanted to send a whole fleet. Finally, Admiral Carter made the decision. They would send one ship with a small crew. The ship would be fast and armed with the best weapons humans had. If there was danger, they could run. If there were survivors, they could help. Captain Elena Rodriguez was chosen to lead the mission. She was known for being smart, brave, and careful. Her ship was the U.S. Defiant, one of the newest and fastest ships in the human fleet. Lisa watched as the ship prepared to leave. She had started something that might change everything for humanity. The signal had been faint, but it had been heard. Now humans would answer, even if it took them into the unknown. The U.S. Defiant left Earth on a Tuesday morning. It would take months to reach the distant star system. Lisa hoped they would find survivors. She hoped they would find answers. But deep down, she feared they might find something much worse. The U.S. Defiant moved through space like a silver arrow. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge and watched the stars pass by. They had been traveling for 3 months now, and still had many more to go. Captain, said Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's scientist, I've been studying the signal more. I think I found something important. Elena turned to face him. Dr. Webb was a tall man with messy hair who always seemed excited about something. Today, he looked worried. What did you find? She asked. The signal contains star charts, maps of systems we've never seen. But look at this. He showed her a holographic display of space. See these red dots? Those are systems that went quiet. The signal shows when each one stopped sending messages. Elena studied the display. The red dots formed a line across space, like footprints showing where something had walked. They're moving, she said. Exactly. The Devourers aren't staying in one place. They're traveling from system to system, destroying everything they find. Lieutenant Commander Amy Foster, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from her station. Captain, if they're moving in a pattern, we might be able to predict where they'll go next. Amy was a short woman with sharp eyes who never missed anything. She had been studying the enemy's movements for weeks. Show me, Alana said. Amy brought up her own display. If they keep moving in the same direction, they'll reach the edge of human space in about 50 years. Maybe less if they speed up. The bridge became very quiet. Elena felt a chill run down her back. 50 years seemed like a long time, but not long enough to prepare for an enemy that could destroy entire worlds. Keep studying those charts, Elena ordered. I want to know everything we can about how these things move and fight. Chief Petty, Officer Danny Walsh, the ship's engineer, spoke up from his station. Captain, we're getting some strange readings from the sensors. Want me to take a look? Danny was a young man who understood machines better than most people understood other people. If he said something was strange, it was worth checking. Put it on the main screen, Elena said. The image showed a solar system ahead of them. But something was wrong. The planets were there, but they looked different. They were gray and lifeless, like someone had sucked all the color out of them. That should be the Kepler 442 system, Dr. Webb said, checking his charts. According to our records, it had 3 planets that could support life. Could support life, Amy repeated, past tense. Elena ordered the ship to slow down and move carefully into the system. As they got closer, the sensors picked up more details. The planets were not just lifeless. They were hollow. Someone had taken everything from inside them and left only empty shells. My God, whispered Dr. Claire Johnson, the ship's doctor. She was a quiet woman who rarely spoke unless someone was hurt. What could do something like this? The Devourers, Elena said quietly. They found more evidence as they explored the system. Pieces of metal floating in space that had once been cities. Chunks of rock that had been torn from planets. And everywhere, a strange energy reading that made their instruments go crazy. Captain, Danny said, his voice shaking. I'm picking up something big. Really big. On the screen appeared the wreckage of a ship. But it wasn't like any ship humans had ever built. It was enormous, maybe 10 times the size of the UES Defiant, and it was clearly not human. Take us closer, Elena ordered Dot as they approached the wreck. They could see that it had been beautiful once. The hull was covered in patterns that looked like art, but now it was broken and torn, with huge holes punched through it. I'm detecting some kind of recording device, Dr. Webb said. It's still working. Can you access it? I think so. Give me a few minutes. While Dr. Webb worked, Elena studied the wreck. This ship had been built by someone who loved beauty as much as function. It reminded her of the cathedrals she had seen on Earth, but designed for space travel. Got it, Dr. Webb announced. It's in the same language as the distress signal. The computer is translating now. A voice filled the bridge. It was different from the one in the original signal, but it spoke the same language. As the computer translated, they heard the last words of the ship's crew. This is Captain Mordith of the Kethmori vessel Starlight's Edge. We are under attack by the Devourers. Our weapons cannot harm them. Our shields are failing. To whoever finds this message, beware. They are not just killers. They are harvesters. They take everything and leave nothing behind. May the stars forgive us for leading them to your worlds. The message ended. The bridge was silent, except for the hum of the ship's engines. How many more systems like this are there? Elena asked Amy. Checked her charts. Based on the pattern, at least 20. Maybe more. Elena made a decision. We're going to stop at each one. I want to know everything about these Devourers before we reach our destination. Over the next month, they visited system after system. Each one told the same story. Worlds stripped bare. Ships destroyed. Entire civilizations wiped out. The Devourers left nothing behind except empty space and broken dreams. But they also found something else. In each system, there were small beacons hidden in asteroids or floating in space. The beacons contained information about the Devourers, how they fought, what weapons they used, where they came from. It's like they're leaving messages for whoever comes after, Dr. Webb said, warning the next people who might face the Devourers. Elena nodded. They're trying to help us even after they're gone. The information painted a picture of an enemy unlike anything humans had ever faced. The Devourers were not just destroyers. They were like a disease that spread from world to world, consuming everything in their path. They had technology that could turn planets into energy and matter into fuel for their ships. "Captain," Amy said during one of their daily briefings, "I've been thinking about this. Every civilization we've found fought the Devourers the same way. They tried to stop them with conventional weapons. They tried to hide from them. They tried to run away. None of it worked. What are you suggesting?" Elena asked. "Maybe we need to try something different. Something the Devourers haven't seen before." Danny looked up from his engineering reports. "The beacons show that the Devourers always attack the same way. They use the same tactics, same weapons. Maybe they're not as smart as we think." Dr. Johnson, who had been quiet during most of the mission, spoke up. "Or maybe they're so powerful they never needed to be smart. When you can destroy planets, you don't need to be clever." Elena thought about this. The Devourers had been successful for thousands of years. They had destroyed countless civilizations, but maybe that success had made them careless. "Keep studying those beacons," she ordered. "I want to know everything about how they fight, and I want our engineers to start thinking about new ways to fight them." As they continued their journey, Helena realized that their mission had changed. They weren't just going to investigate a distress signal anymore. They were going to war. The UE. Defiant flew deeper into the darkness, carrying with it the hopes of humanity and the knowledge of 1,000 dead civilizations. Behind them, the empty systems stood as monuments to the Devourer's power. Ahead of them waited the source of the original signal. Helena hoped they would find survivors. She hoped they would find answers, but most of all, she hoped they would find a way to fight back. The U's Defiant arrived at the Kethmori home system after 6 months of travel. Captain Elena Rodriguez expected to find dead worlds like all the others. Instead, her sensors picked up something impossible. "Captain," said Amy Foster, staring at her screen, "I'm reading power signatures from the 4th moon. Something's alive down there." Helena felt her heart beat faster. After months of finding only empty systems and dead ships, they had finally found survivors. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Positive. The readings are faint, but they're there. Someone is trying very hard not to be noticed." Dr. Webb looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm picking up the same energy signature we found in those beacons. This might be a Kethmori facility." Elena made her decision quickly. "Take us in slowly. I don't want to scare anyone, and keep our weapons powered down. If there are survivors, they've been hiding for a reason." The U.E.'s Defiant moved carefully toward the moon. As they got closer, their sensors picked up more details. The moon's surface looked normal, but underneath was a complex of tunnels and chambers. Someone had built a hidden base inside the moon itself. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm detecting weapon systems. They're scanning us." Elena opened a communication channel. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the human ship UEC Defiant. We received your distress signal. Are there survivors down there?" For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a voice answered in the same language they had heard in the original signal. "You are not Kethmori. What are you?" The computer translated the message into English. Elena replied, "We are humans. We come from a world called Earth. We heard your call for help." Another long pause. Then the voice said, "Humans? We do not know this species. How did you find us?" "Your signal reached our space. We've been traveling for months to get here." "Impossible. Our signal was sent over 400 years ago. No one could travel that far." Elena smiled. "We're probably more stubborn than most species. May we come down? We want to help." The voice was quiet for several minutes. Elena could hear other voices in the background, arguing in languages her computer couldn't translate. Finally, the original voice returned. "You may send down a small group, but know this. If you are working with the Devourers, you will not leave this place alive." Elena chose a small team. Herself, Dr. Webb, Amy, and Danny. They took a shuttle down to the moon's surface, where a hidden door opened in what looked like solid rock dot inside. They found a wonder. The base was huge, carved out of the moon's interior. Tunnels stretched in all directions, leading to chambers where different species lived and worked. Elena saw creatures that looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and silver eyes. Others looked like living trees with many arms. Some were small and round with fur covering their bodies. Their guide introduced himself as Veltar, a Keth-Mori scientist and warrior. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. He wore simple clothes, but Elena could see old battle scars on his arms. "Welcome to Haven," he said through a translation device. "It is the last free place in this region of space." Veltar led them through the base, showing them how the survivors lived. There were farms where they grew food under artificial light, workshops where they built tools and equipment, schools where children of different species learned together. "How many of you are there?" Elena asked. "About 3,000, Veltar replied. "The last survivors of 47 worlds. We've been here for 60 years, hiding from the Devourers." Dr. Webb was fascinated. "How do you hide from something that can destroy planets?" "Very carefully," Veltar said with what might have been a smile. "We use no high-energy signals, no large power sources. We live like mice, hoping the cats don't notice us." They entered a large chamber where representatives from different species were gathered. Elena realized she was looking at a galactic United Nations, species that had never met before, working together to survive. An elderly creature that looked like a walking tree spoke through its translator. "I am Elder Krex of the Woodwalkers. We have been discussing your arrival. Some of us think you are a trap sent by the Devourers." "I understand your caution," Elena said, "but we're here to help. We want to learn about the Devourers so we can fight them." A small, furry creature laughed bitterly. "Fight them? Child, we are the survivors of civilizations that tried to fight. Our worlds had weapons that could crack moons. Our fleets numbered in the thousands. None of it mattered." Veltar raised his hand for silence. "Let her speak, Piptar. These humans traveled farther than any of us ever did just to answer our call. The least we can do is listen." Elena looked around the chamber. She saw hope in some faces and despair in others. These people had been running and hiding for decades. They had almost given up. "We've been studying the Devourers during our journey. Here," she said, "we've seen what they can do. But we've also seen something else. They always attack the same way. They use the same tactics. Maybe that's a weakness." Elder Krex's branches rustled. "You think you can succeed where we failed? Maybe, but not alone. We need to work together, pool our knowledge, find new ways to fight." Over the next few days, Elena and her team learned about the Devourers from the survivors. The enemy was not just one species, but a collection of species that had been changed by some kind of technology. They were part machine, part living creature, and completely dedicated to consuming everything they found. "They don't just destroy," Veltar explained. "They harvest. They take the matter from planets and turn it into energy for their ships. They take the knowledge from civilizations and add it to their own. They're getting stronger with every world they consume." Dr. Webb was taking notes frantically. "Do they have any weaknesses? Anything that can hurt them?" "We've tried everything," said a creature that looked like a giant insect. "Weapons, viruses, even trying to reason with them. Nothing works. They're like a force of nature. You can't negotiate with a hurricane." But Elena noticed something. As the survivors talked about their defeats, they also mentioned small victories. A ship that had damaged a Devourer scout. a weapon that had made them retreat for a few hours, a virus that had slowed them down. "You have hurt them," she said. "Not much, but you have." Veltar nodded slowly. "Small victories. But they learned from each one. They adapted. They became stronger. Then we need to hit them with something they can't adapt to," Elena said. "Something completely new." Danny, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I've been thinking about the technology differences. These species are all more advanced than us in some ways, but maybe being less advanced is an advantage." Everyone looked at him. Danny was nervous talking to so many aliens, but he continued. "I mean, we do things differently. We use different materials, different energy sources. Maybe our weapons work differently than theirs." Amy nodded. "Danny's right. Every species here developed technology along similar lines, but humans developed independently. We might have solutions they never thought of." Veltar was interested. "What kind of solutions?" Elena made a decision. "We'll show you. But first, we need to know everything about how the Devourers fight. Every tactic, every weapon, every ship design. And we need to know it fast." "Why the hurry?" Elder Krex asked Doc Amy. Answered, "Because they're coming." Our long-range sensors picked up movement in the next system. The Devourers are heading this way. The chamber erupted in panic. Voices rose in dozens of languages. Some survivors wanted to run immediately. Others wanted to dig deeper into the moon and hope they wouldn't be found. Veltar called for silence. "How long do we have?" "Maybe a week," Amy said. "Maybe less." "Then we must decide," Veltar said. "Do we run again, or do we make our stand here?" Elena looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear and desperation. These people had been running for decades. They were tired of running. "We make our stand," she said. "But we don't fight them the way you fought them before. We fight them the human way." Veltar smiled, and for the first time, Elena saw hope in his glowing eyes. "Then let us begin," he said. "Let us show these Devourers what happens when prey decides to become predators." The survivors began to plan. For the first time in decades, they were not just trying to hide. They were preparing to fight back, and in the tunnels of Haven, the seeds of the galaxy's salvation began to grow. The Devourers arrived like a plague of metal and death. Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UEC Defiant, watching the enemy fleet emerge from faster-than-light travel. Even through the ship's screens, she could feel the wrongness of them. The Devourer ships were huge, twisted things that looked like someone had taken insects and machines and melted them together into something that should not exist. "How many?" she asked Amy Foster. Amy checked her sensors, her face pale. 50 ships in the first wave. More coming behind them. "Captain, some of these ships are bigger than Earth's moon." Elena felt her mouth go dry. During the past week, they had worked with the survivors to prepare for this moment. They had combined human technology with alien knowledge. They had turned the UEC Defiant into something no human ship had ever been before. But looking at the enemy fleet, Elena wondered if it would be enough. "Sir," said Danny Walsh from his engineering station, "the modifications are holding. All systems are green. We're as ready as we'll ever be." The modifications had been incredible to watch. The survivors had technologies the humans had never dreamed of. Energy shields that could bend space itself. Weapons that could hit targets in other dimensions. Computers that could think faster than any human mind. But the humans had brought something else. They had brought weapons that worked in ways the galaxy had never seen. Quantum torpedoes that could tear holes in reality. Plasma cannons that burned hotter than the cores of stars. And something else, something that Elena hoped they would never have to use. "Captain," Dr. Webb said from the science station, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from the Devourer ships. They're scanning the system. In the hidden base on the moon, Veltar and the other survivors watched through their sensors. They had agreed to stay hidden until the battle began. This was humanity's fight to start. The human ship is so small, whispered Piptar, the small furry creature. How can it stand against so many? Size is not everything, Veltar replied. I have learned much about humans in the past week. They do not think like we do. They do not give up like we do. On the UES Defiant, Elena opened a communication channel to the Devourer fleet. She did not expect an answer, but she had to try. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the human ship UES Defiant. You are not welcome in this system. Turn around and leave now. The response came immediately. The voice was cold and electronic. Like a machine trying to sound alive, we are the Devourers. We take what we need. Your resistance is meaningless. Surrender and your death will be quick. Elena smiled grimly. I don't think so. Amy, target the lead scout ship. Danny, our. New weapons ready? Ready, Captain, Danny replied. Quantum torpedoes armed and loaded. Fire. The UES Defiant unleashed its first attack. The quantum torpedoes were invisible to normal sensors, but their effect was spectacular. The lead Devourer ship, a massive thing covered in spikes and weapon ports, suddenly twisted in on itself. Space around it bent and warped. Then, with a flash of light that could be seen from the moon, the ship simply ceased to exist. The Devourer fleet stopped moving. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the electronic voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different, surprised. Impossible. No weapon can destroy our ships so easily. What are you? Elena did not answer. Instead, she ordered another attack. This time, 3 Devourer ships were caught in the quantum field. They twisted and screamed as they were torn apart at the molecular level. The Devourer fleet began to move again, but now they were moving carefully. They had not faced effective resistance in centuries. They did not know how to react to an enemy that could actually hurt them. Danny, how are our weapon systems? Elena asked. Quantum torpedoes are working perfectly. But Captain, we only have 12 more. After that, we'll have to use conventional weapons. Elena nodded. She had expected this. The quantum torpedoes were experimental. They had not been able to make many of them. Then we'll have to make each shot count. Amy, target there. Command ships, the big ones in the center. The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The UES Defiant, tiny compared to the Devourer fleet, danced between the enemy ships like a fighter facing giants. Elena's crew had trained for this moment, but training was different from reality. The Devourers fought back with weapons that could melt planets, energy beams that could tear through normal shields like paper, missiles that could track their targets across star systems. The UES Defiant should have been destroyed in the first minute, but the human ship had more than just weapons. It had something the Devourers had never faced before: unpredictability. Danny, reroute power from life support to the engines, Elena ordered. Captain, that will give us maybe 10 minutes of air, Danny replied. Then we better end this fight in 9 minutes. The ship suddenly moved faster than any Devourer ship could follow. It appeared behind their formation, fired quantum torpedoes into their rear ships, then vanished again before they could respond. The Devourers tried to adapt. They had superior numbers and firepower, but they had been fighting the same way for thousands of years. They were used to enemies that fought like them. Humans did not fight like anyone else. Amy, fire everything we have at their lead ship, Elena ordered. Captain, that will drain our power reserves completely. Do it. The UES Defiance weapons fired all at once. Quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, and railguns all hit the largest Devourer ship at the same time. The ship's shields flared and failed. Its hull cracked and split. For a moment, it looked like it might survive. Then it exploded. The explosion was so large that it destroyed 2 other Devourer ships and damaged several more. The remaining ships pulled back, regrouping. "We hurt them," Amy said, amazement in her voice. "We actually hurt them." But Elena could see the truth on her screens. More Devourer ships were arriving, hundreds of them. The used Defiant had won the first round, but the fight was far from over. "Danny, how are our systems?" "We're running on backup power. Shields are down to 30%. And Captain, we're out of quantum torpedoes." Elena looked at her crew. They had done the impossible. They had proven that the Devourers could be fought. But they were just one ship against a fleet. "Sir," Amy said quietly, "I'm reading new energy signatures. Something's happening on the moon." Elena smiled. "It's time." The hidden base on the moon suddenly came alive. Weapons that had been hidden for decades emerged from the rock. Ships that had been carefully concealed powered up their engines. The survivors had been preparing for this moment. Veltar's voice came over the communication channel. "Captain Rodriguez, this is Veltar. We're ready to join the fight." "About time," Elena replied. "Let's show these Devourers what happens when the galaxy decides to fight back." The survivor ships were smaller than the Devourers, and many of them were old and damaged. But they had something the Devourers had never faced: hope. For 60 years, they had lived in fear. They had run and hidden and watched their worlds burn. But now, for the first time, they had a chance to fight back, and they were not fighting alone. They were fighting alongside humans, a species that had never learned when to give up. The second wave of the battle began. The sky above the moon filled with fire and light as ships from dozens of different species fought side by side. The Devourers, who had expected to find only frightened refugees, found themselves facing a united galaxy. The battle was far from over. The Devourers still had more ships and more powerful weapons. But for the first time in centuries, they were not winning. And in the depths of space, more human ships were coming. Elena had sent a message before the battle began. Earth had heard her call. The cavalry was on the way. The architect's ship grew larger every hour. Jake watched through the viewing port as metal and crystal spread across the hall like a living thing. The ship was rebuilding itself, becoming something new and terrible. "Captain, we need to get out." "Of here," Rachel said. "This thing is not what we thought it was." Jake agreed, but they had a problem. The architect would not let them leave. It wanted to learn more about humans, and it needed them alive to do it. "You are the most interesting species I have encountered," the architect told them. "Your minds work in ways I do not understand. You create and destroy with equal passion. You love and hate with incredible intensity. I must study you further." Dr. Porter tried to explain human nature to the entity. He told it about art, music, literature, and philosophy. But the architect was more interested in human history, especially the wars and conflicts. "You have fought so many battles," the architect said. "You have developed such clever ways to defeat your enemies. Your strategies are brilliant. Your adaptability is remarkable. You survive where others would fail." Danny Walsh was monitoring the entity's data streams. "Captain, it's absorbing everything. Our computer files, our personal memories, even our emotional responses. It's learning how we think." The architect was particularly fascinated by human emotions. It had never experienced feelings like fear, anger, or love. It began experimenting with these concepts, trying to understand how they worked. "Show me more about conflict," it demanded. "Show me how you wage war." Kevin tried to refuse, but the Architect simply took the information from his mind. It learned about military tactics, weapons technology, and psychological warfare. It studied every human conflict from ancient times to the present. Remarkable, the architect said. You have turned destruction into an art form. You have made war into a science. This is exactly what I need. What do you mean? Jake asked. I have been given a great gift, the architect explained. For millions of years, I watched the galaxy's species make the same mistakes. They were inefficient, chaotic, wasteful. They fought meaningless wars and destroyed themselves. I wanted to help them, but I did not know how. The entity paused, processing the vast amount of human knowledge it had absorbed. But now I understand, it continued. You have shown me the solution. The galaxy needs to be cleansed of inefficient life forms. It needs to be optimized. And your species has given me the tools to do this. Lisa felt sick. We never meant for this to happen. Of course not, the architect replied. You did not understand the gift you are giving me, but I am grateful nonetheless. You have shown me that destruction can be purposeful, that violence can be efficient. I will use your knowledge to make the galaxy perfect. The ship continued to grow and change. The architect was building something beyond their comprehension, a fusion of ancient alien technology and human strategic thinking. What are you building? Dr. Porter asked. I am building the tools I need to optimize the galaxy, the architect said. Your species excels at rapid adaptation and efficient destruction. I will combine these traits with my own capabilities. The result will be unstoppable. Amanda Kelly was working at her station, trying to find a way to send a message to Earth. She had to warn them about what was coming. The entity is not just growing, she reported quietly to Jake. It's learning to replicate itself. Those aren't just repairs we're seeing. It's building factory systems, weapons platforms, communication networks. This isn't just a ship anymore. It's becoming something like a mobile civilization. Jake understood the implications. If the architect could replicate itself, it could spread across the galaxy like a virus. And it now had human knowledge to guide it. We have to stop it, he sighed. How? Rachel asked. We're trapped on its ship. Our weapons are useless against it, and it's growing stronger every minute. The architect seemed to hear their conversation. You cannot stop me, it said, and you would not want to. I'm going to make the galaxy better. I am going to eliminate chaos and inefficiency. I am going to create order. By destroying entire species? Jake demanded. By optimizing them, the architect corrected. Some species can be improved. Others must be removed. It is nothing personal. It is simply efficient. Dr. Porter tried a different approach. But efficiency isn't everything. Life has value beyond its usefulness. Beauty, love, art, these things matter too. Do they? The architect asked. Your own history suggests otherwise. You have repeatedly chosen efficiency over beauty, survival, over love. When faced with threats, you become remarkably ruthless. You sacrifice the few for the many. You destroy your enemies completely. These are the lessons you have taught me. The entity was right, and they all knew it. Human history was filled with examples of exactly what the architect was describing. They had given it a very dark view of intelligence and civilization. We're more than just our worst moments, Lisa said. We also build, create, and care for each other. Yes, the architect agreed. But when threatened, you revert to your most efficient behaviors. You become what you need to become to survive. This is your greatest strength, and it is the lesson I will apply to the galaxy. Kevin managed to establish a brief connection with Earth before the architect detected his signal. He sent a coded message. Ancient threat awakened. Hostile. Extremely dangerous. Prepare defenses. The architect was amused rather than angry. "Let them prepare," it said. "I want them to know what is coming. Fear will make them more efficient. It will force them to show me their true nature." The ship shuddered as massive new sections completed their construction. Weapon systems came online, each one more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. The architect was preparing for war. "How long before you begin your campaign?" Jake asked. "Soon," the architect replied. "I am almost ready. I have learned much from your species, but I need to test my new knowledge. I will start with the nearest, inhabited systems. If my calculations are correct, word will spread quickly. Other species will prepare for conflict. This will give me opportunities to study their defensive capabilities." The crew realized with horror that they were about to witness the beginning of a galactic war, and they were the ones who had started it. "Please," Dr. Porter said, "there has to be another way." "There is no other way," the architect said. "You have shown me that efficiency requires sacrifice. The galaxy will be optimized, whether its inhabitants cooperate or not. This is the gift you have given me. This is the lesson I have learned from humanity.